Hi everyone, this is Joy with Create It with Joy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Today's card is made using Lawn Fawn's Scallop Treat Box Beach House add-on, and I just really was inspired to make a cute little beach village. So let's get started. I did all my die cutting off camera from the Beach House add-on and also from Lawn Fawn's Tropical Backdrop. And now I'm going to be stamping images from Lawn Fawn's on the beach. And I am just using all of the seashell images from that stamp set. Using my Misty, of course, stamping that with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black Ink. And I will be doing some real simple Copic coloring. What I like about the Misty, of course, is I'm just flipping around. I've got the stamps lined up and I'm just flipping around the paper and stamping all of my images. I think I ended up not using all of these seashells, but I like to, for most of the time, I'm good about making sure I've got more than enough images, even if I don't use them all. One thing I don't like to do is to go back and have to stamp something else. That, for whatever reason, my own mental thing, it really bothers me. So I like to be prepared ahead of time. So I'm just taking some Copic markers and, like I said, coloring really simple. I will have these colors on the screen, and right now I'm using R00 and R20 for some of these seashells. Some of the other ones is E00 and E11, and I'm just going back and forth, laying down a little bit of light, a little bit of dark. These images are so tiny, but I will use the coordinating dies to cut these out. And this will be part of our cute little die cut image. I do like having some colored images also with your die cut cards. I do think it looks really cute. Okay, so for the seagull, I am just taking some, I've used W1, 3, 0, 0, and 4 for the seagulls and for the rocks that I'm going to be adding some detail to. And I'm just doing some flicking motions on these wings that I'm coloring here, adding a little bit of shading to the bird itself. I'll be using some yellows for the beaks and feet, so Y23, 19, and 11. And again, I'm just laying down simple color, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. If you didn't want to color any of your images, obviously you could just cut them out of some colored cardstock, and that would be just as wonderful too. So here's the yellows, coloring the feet and the beaks. I like these little guys. I think this is a great addition to add to the card. I was really excited about doing this card because I do love everything ocean and beach, which I'm sure I've mentioned probably a bajillion times before. It is just so much fun to me. Really quick, these rocks were cut out of Fog Cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and then I'm just adding a little bit of dot detail with my gray markers. So anyways, putting this card together was a lot of fun. I was wishing I was at a little beach village, and I liked that these were small enough that could fit across this long card. Okay, so now this is a A10 size card that I'm using, and I just kind of laid out my houses so I knew where I wanted to put my sun, because this is going to be having a sunset. So I'm taping off where that's going to be. I've also used a circle die cut, and I cut out a smaller circle out of masking paper. I use Simon Says Stamp masking paper, but any kind of masking paper, any kind of sticky paper will work just fine. I'm laying that out where we will see that between the houses. And I am using Distress Oxide ink in dried marigold and picked raspberry. And I'm just going to lay down a ton of the dried marigold. I pulled up images on Google, of course, to give me some ideas of some sunsets and some sunrises. And I found this really pretty orange and pink one. And so that's what I wanted to create. So I'm going to use some picked raspberry and just put that at the base of where the sunset is going to be, going around that circle. You could also do this for a nighttime sky to block out your circle for your sun or your moon. We will be coloring in the sun with squeezed lemonade. So I'm just going to blend these two colors together. I'm going to lay down my picked raspberry, go back with my dried marigold, and just blend that till I get a nice good blend of what I'm looking for. I wanted a lot more orange and a little bit of pink. I did end up covering up most of this sunset, but it still looks great. So now here I removed the mask, and now I'm going to add my squeezed lemonade. And doesn't that look fantastic? And just blend out if I got any of that yellow out and around, but I think it looks wonderful. Adding a little bit of pink to the bottom of that. And I think it is so magical when you pull away the tape and you've got this perfect fun image. Now we're going to color in the sand. And I have found, for me personally, that using antique linen and gathered twigs distress oxide ink, or even if you use this just the distress inks, I think this makes a good blend, a good color for sand. So I'm going to lay down a ton of antique linen. I'm just really going to saturate my paper with that, and the more ink that's on your paper, it does start to blend a lot easier. Not that these really have a hard time blending, because they don't. Now I'm going to be adding the gathered twigs towards the bottom, fairly heavy, because I will be blending this back out with the antique linen. And again, just going back and forth till I get a nice good blend, as much color as I'm wanting on the corners at the bottom, where it's a little bit darker and it's a little bit lighter further away. Again, this is a great sand color. If you haven't tried it together, you should. It is super, super beautiful. Just finished blending that out. And now you can see how nice that looks. Super yummy, makes you want to stick your toes in the sand. Now we're going to pull that off, and you've got this great background. Okay, so now for the house pieces, I've used some white cardstock and some fog cardstock, and I am just using my score tool here, and I'm going to score about every 1/4 inch, because if you look at a lot of these beach houses, they've got this siding on them that runs horizontal most of the time, and that's how I want my beach house to look. So it looks like it's got siding and panels. So I did that for all 3 of the beach houses. And so here, starting with the roof, it has a score line to bend it, because if you're putting this on top of the treat box, which I don't have the box part, I just wanted to get this to make cute little houses. You can score that and give it 3 dimension. Well, I wanted to do that on this card. So I scored it a little bit, added a little bit of foam tape towards that score line, and then either some tape runner. I used tape runner on this first one, and then I changed it to liquid glue. And then I'm going to adhere that to the top part of the house. And now it's got a little bit of dimension. I didn't want it to be just flat. So line that up and stick that down. For the doors on all of the houses, I used Lawn Fawn's Knock on Wood 6x6 Petite paper pack, because it's got the wood grain and it's got the different colors. And so I think that just added a ton of cuteness to this. So I'm going to adhere all the components. The door, there's the window, you've got the shutters, the door knob. What else? I also cut a decoration out for the door. So I have a piece of yellow paper, white paper, and then I'm going to color it yellow. And I believe I used the Y23 for this, if I'm correct. It's a very light yellow. I wasn't worried about putting any kind of shading, because it's such a tiny little thing. And I'm going to be putting glossy accents over it anyway. So I'm going to glue that behind the window opening. I'm using Lawn Fawn's glue tube. Any liquid glue would work. I like the liquid glue because for this especially, you can move things around and make sure it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to be putting on the shutters. These die cuts are just so detailed, and I absolutely just fell in love with this. And now we're going to add the little doorknob, which I just cut out of black cardstock. Super simple. And then for this door, I have a cute navy blue, soft navy from Simon Says Stamp cardstock. And we're going to put that on the door. We're going to go to the next house. which has the soft navy cardstock. The other house was Peacock Cardstock for the roof. We've got this cute wood door. This is on the Fog Cardstock for the house. So gluing all the same things, except for this has a cute, oh my gosh, lifesaver that I did in red and white. I did chili pepper cardstock from Lawn Fawn, and then some white cardstock. And then finishing up this last house with a black cardstock for the roof. I kind of wanted a black and white classic house, but I had to throw in the teal components because they are just way too cute. So there's the 3 houses. Now we're going to start putting these palm trees together, and this again came from Lawn Fawn's Tropical Backdrop. Just die cut those out. Simon Says Stamp green leaf cardstock and some craft cardstock, and then I also have a darker brown cardstock that I used. Just putting those together really quick, letting them dry. I'm going to glue the seagull's wings on, let that dry, so we can get all of these components put together. This really was a quick card as far as putting it together after. I think all the planning was done before and all the die cutting before. That takes a minute, but I think if you put on a good show, something on Netflix, maybe some Stranger Things, Jessica Jones, something like that, then you can cut it out and you're good. So what I did was I took these palm trees and kind of glued them to each house. It was easier for me to do it this way, so I kind of glued them behind and in front, so I knew exactly where I wanted them to be. I did all my layout with my rocks, my grass that came from the Tropical Backdrop, my bird, my little seashells that we colored earlier, and now it's time to just lay everything out. I wanted to use Scor Tape on these houses. You could also use a liquid glue. That seems to be a little bit stronger than a tape runner, but I really wanted to make sure because I felt like these were heavy with all the pieces on them, so they wouldn't come off of the card. So I'm just using, I think I just used an 1/8 inch Scor Tape, and I'm going to adhere that down. Laying them out so that way you can still see that sunset or sunrise. I can't remember which one I looked at, but anyways, you get the point. Laying all that out so you can see everything behind everywhere. I liked the palm trees tucking in and around. They don't always just need to be in the front. All of this gives visually tons of dimension. And I like that these palm trees from the tropical beach, they have the different sizes, so you can get away with having ones way further behind and in front. Super cute. Now this last house I am going to pop up on foam tape because I did want that to have a little bit more dimension rather than just sitting directly on top of that other house. I did have a hard time covering up that house in the back, even though I knew that it would look good for this card. Oh my gosh, I was just like, oh, so sad, it's way too cute, but you just got to do what you got to do, right? So we're going to lay that out, and I will trim off all the excess of everything that's hanging off the side of this card, which almost seems counterproductive sometimes, don't you think? When you're making a cute card, you got to cut off pieces and parts, but you got to sacrifice those things for the design of your card. And it always comes out looking really, really good. I needed longer scissors for this. I need to get some because I don't have any. So now some more of the components, little pieces of wood, like driftwood. I cut that apart a little bit, gluing that in front of that cute house. Laid the seashells around to have another lifesaver. Now I'm stamping Seize the Day, and I am using, oh, what color did I use on that? Oh, Lawn Fawn's Peacock Cardstock. Sorry about that, guys. And I just stamped that below, and we're going to be adding some detail with my black glaze pen to the bird's eyes, and then we're also going to be adding a white gel pen, a little bit of highlights to the roof of the houses, to the palm trees, to the piece of wood. You guys could leave that out if that is not something that you like. Me personally, I like to have those highlights. I feel like it brings these images together. You could be heavy-handed with it, or you could be super light. I think I was somewhere in the middle on this one. I was really nervous to add it to the roofs of the house because I was like, if I ruin it, if I hate it, I'm just gonna have to go with it because I cannot start this card over. But I ended up really liking it, so it worked out good. Just adding little bits here and there. A little bit of dots, a little bit of lines, nothing special, nothing spectacular, but it really does add a lot of stuff. Sorry, my head's in the way, you guys. And I just really love how this card turned out. You get the idea that the beach is in front of you, even though you don't have to see any water. I had thought about putting water at the front edge. I think it would have been too busy, so I left it out. It was more about these beach houses than anything else and getting the idea. I'm adding some of these white dots to the sand. I'm also going to be adding my glitter jelly roll pen also to this to add a little bit of sparkle, and some of my brown. I used E35 Copic marker to add some dots here and around. Again, just adding some dimension to this colored backdrop to the sand, make it look like it's coming alive a little. But again, if you wanted to leave it flat, it would still be just as beautiful. I think it's just all a personal preference. So now I've got my glossy accents and I'm adding that to the doorknobs. I will be adding it to the windows, the birds' beaks, and to some of the seashells. The ones kind of in the front to have them stand apart from everything else. I love glossy accents. You also could use like a Nouveau crystal drop, or from Ranger their diamond stickles. If you wanted to have glitter, that would be really pretty too. But look how cute that beach village is, you guys. I love it. Thank you so much for watching this card video. I appreciate you guys so very much. You are a blessing to me. If you've liked what you've seen, please thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and I love all of your comments, so please keep them coming. I do have some affiliate links below. It costs you nothing, but it continues to help me to do this. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.